phone footage.
It'll get smacked immediately. Don't you worry
Yeah.
about it.
This is a 7 minute clip. Oh my word. Holy crap, dude.
What? What? What am I missing?
1 second.
All right, well, but we're on though, just so you know.
Hmm?
We're on.
Oh, we're live?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry, I was watching that Ricky Gervais clip. It's 7 minutes long. It was just some other stuff that was whew,
The only
pretty
thing
hefty.
that is known in this world is that Ricky Gervais needs to get paid more for that fucking gig. He's the only funny person there. So,
Oh man, it's so good. Feels so good hearing him say the things he says. It's so it's gold. It's gold. It's comedy gold.
it's
The dude does not the dude does not take back off either.
You know what was weird is it took me 3 tries to start to like his humanity special, and then once I really got the verbiage down, because there's loss of translation between the two, English and American, but
Hmm.
it really came together after like listening to multiple times, and it's just like a fine wine. You just yeah. Sometimes you sip it and it tastes like a dog's asshole. Sometimes you gotta let it grow on you, and sometimes you just drink it and you're like, I just feel like I drank butter. It's amazing.
Hmm. Oh man. Oh jeez. I can't now. I honestly it almost makes me tempted to watch the show. But I can't be bothered to just sit there and watch a bunch of pompous people uh flaunt their success that they all vote on for each other. I mean, half the time the stuff that wins at award shows is kind of not stuff I have any interest in whatsoever anyway.
No, it, it's rich people doing rich shit.
It trips people going on each other.
I mean, I didn't need the pantomime, but I'm okay with it.
Well, I mean, it's hard to mimic the sound, I think, without actually mimicking the
Go get a
emotion.
hot dog.
Because you got
What's
to
wrong with you?
get the throat. Huh?
Go get a hot dog. What's wrong with you? Come on.
I don't have a hot dog.
We need realism.
Bro. Bro, it's the dead of winter.
Sounds like an excuse to me.
I ain't going out in shorts and cooking hot dogs on the grill in the winter. I'm not
So
going to
why are
boil
you
them either.
cooking them?
No one wants to
Ice
boil a
cold,
weenie.
ice cold weenies.
Eh.
So, have I ever told you my hazing process for people in the restaurant industry?
No.
I give people a whole raw Idaho potato and say, "Eat this." People don't do it. They're terrified, and they're like, "Oh, if you're such a big man, you do it." And I will eat an entire raw potato in front of them, and just it's a 50-50 reaction between being flabbergasted and then 25% they like run away, just like, oh, I can't believe you just did that, and the other 25% is like, I don't want to know you.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun. Like, why be a coward? Why sit there and think raw hot dog meat, even though it is technically cured for all intents and purposes, is bad for you? Somebody challenges you, you gotta take it, no matter the cost.
I don't know. I think part of it's that it sounds disgusting. I don't think it's necessarily raw bad. I mean, people eat raw meat all the time. There's even what do you call it? Isn't there like a term for raw meat too?
Uh,
Um, I can't remember what it is, but I know there's. I mean, in addition to things like getting a meat, you know, lightly cooked,
oh,
you can still get
well, lightly cooked is blue rare, but for
right.
people who just eat straight up raw, it's fucking called like disgusting. No, it's usually like fucking car carpaccio, carpaccio, something like that. I can't remember where they literally will take a
I don't.
steak and smash it down to like paper thin, and then they eat that raw.
Uh,
I
well, I
think
know
it's
there's
disgusting.
I know just the general act of eating raw meat has a term too. I just can't recall what it is. Like there was even that guy. Oh, who was the guy that did the video on it? There was a guy, I think it was Leon, that did a video on the guy that just eats like he has raw meat in his freezer.
I think it was like the wife swap episode, right?
I think so. Yeah, he like has just meat hanging in his freezer, but his freezer is like turned down low or something, so it's like soft enough that he can go in and cut a piece of meat off and chew on it. Like
Hmm,
freaking gross.
that's
It
disgusting.
sounds. Yeah, it is, and it's apparently like pretty much all he eats is just raw meat, if I remember correctly.
I mean, so raw meat can be okay for you. It is highly ill-advised for a multitude of reasons. But
Yeah, many, many.
if you farm raise it yourself, you don't let the animals devour shit and poisonous or possibly dangerous things. I'm like, it is not impossible to live off of raw meat. It is technically more nutritious as well. Doesn't mean you fucking do it.
Yeah, no, it's not a good idea because you could still get like a bunch of different illnesses from raw meat. Um, but I mean, if as long as I guess as long as it's stored safely, properly, maybe it's okay. But I mean, some people obviously are living off of it. It's just not a good idea.
Well, yeah, it's like one of the big things about the trichinosis scare back when that was like when I was a teenager was it's just like if you don't let the animals like grow up in shit in those factory farm conditions, chances are the meat's usually fine. Usually being the keyword. So you just have to raise the animal right, give it a proper diet, preferably that it is a
Make
natural
sure it goes
diet.
to a good school.
No, it could be in a shitty school, but
Well, you said to raise it right. You want to send it. You got to send it to a good school if you're gonna raise it right.
no, you homeschool it.
Eh, eh. I mean, speaking from experience here, easier said than done, my friend.
No, so besides the one joke, the Epstein joke that Ricky just
Timmy
made,
here was homeschooled, all right,
and see where he ended up.
and look how he ended up. Yeah,
Oh, you see Doplex's newest video?
yes, I did.
I, I I don't know why I hate Naked Man, but I also simultaneously love Naked Man, and I think it's just because it's too blatant the humor, but I love it because it's
Yeah,
so blatant.
yeah. It's one of those things where like because it's been around so long in terms of the joke on his channel and all that, it works regardless of how blatant the original joke was. But all the more subtle jokes, all the like more legitimate jokes you could say after that,
Right.
that the character himself makes it better too.
And then Nick the Oreo is asking if this is Crisco here. I am Crisco. I decided to roll in lard. Oh, speaking of getting fat, I've eaten so much shit in the last 2 weeks, I fucking want to die. But in the process of it, I've discovered I am a fucking addict to White Claw. I I am, and I have to say that angrily. I have to because
Well,
I am a Kyle that punches drywall and likes White Claw, and I fucking hate it. I
I
am
mean,
the
I'll be
man.
honest. White Claw isn't that bad. I give them credit. It's for given the price, alcohol content, and the fact that it's fairly healthy by comparison to a lot of other alcohol because it is just water.
Oh, so
It's not bad at all.
two things about it. First off, it's not cheap in my opinion. I think it's pretty brutal expensive because
Might be,
12
but might
packs like
depend on where you're at.
12 packs like $20. So
Yeah, no, that's not for us to hear. I think it's like 15 or something like that, which is about
oh,
the
that's
amount
not
of
bad.
six pack of Angry Orchard or whatever.
Oh man,
Yeah,
but that's why I drink liquor usually. Is because I'm like I can get so much more out of it per buck. But
same.
the thing I love is like you just said, this thing makes me have to piss nonstop. Like I swear to God, me and the girlfriend watching Witcher. I think I had to take a piss. No, actually, no. We were watching Marriage Story, which, by the way, fucking phenomenal movie. If you haven't watched it
Really?
already, you have to watch it. I I'm gonna say this to you, and it's gonna sound cliche. I have never seen better acting in my life from people trying to be like, we are pretending to be real people. Narcissistic overlords pretending to be real human beings. I have never seen it. I am blown
Isn't
away.
that what acting is though?
There's always that disconnection though, where you're sitting there like, oh, I don't believe this is a real person. Like, oh, they live in too nice of a house, or their furniture seems to match perfectly, or their kitchen's perfectly clean, and there's never a glass kind of strewn about, or they just never have a bad feature about them.
Mm,
I've never seen anything except for like even Roseanne is kind of like that, and even Roseanne kind of has pitfalls, and that TV show if you don't know. And I was like, I'm I've never been more believing of two characters, and I am
yeah.
astounded. And
I
yeah, I told the girlfriend I was like I didn't want to watch it because I was afraid it was gonna be fucking good, and it was really good.
I will say that Adam Driver has um become one of my favorite actors over the last few years. Um, did you remember the movie that I don't know if you saw it or not, but the it was the movie with like him, Channing Tatum, and like two or three other people. It was about them like being rednecks and they were gonna like steal a bunch of money from like a NASCAR race or something.
I don't actually see many movies, so no.
It was on Amazon a couple months a year ago, probably something like that. I can't remember what it was called, but it was actually really good. It looked so dumb to me when the trailers and it didn't look like it was some stupid parody type movie. It looked like it was just a movie that was going to just it looked like it was aiming high for me. Like it was aiming higher than it should. And it actually was actually really good. And I don't think it did very well, but it was one of those movies where I think a lot of people felt the same way I did, where it looked like they were trying to make a movie that seemed like something it wasn't. Like it was going to be more highbrow humor because the way you know when you watch a trailer for a movie, a lot of times the trailer looks like they're trying to go for a really artsy style,
Yeah, yeah.
and it just doesn't fit with the movie in
Oh
reality.
yeah, I've seen that many
That's how it
times.
felt. Originally, the trailers and all that looked like it was like one of those kind of movies, and then when the movie actually comes out, and I watched it because I saw some people saying it was funny, and it was actually really entertaining, and it was not like some celebrity dick sucking event or whatever.
I'll give it a peep. You just gotta shoot me over that name. I'll like on Discord so that
Yeah,
way I can look it up. I'm like I don't
I'll
understand
actually
the
look at
name
them
of it
now.
actually. On that note, I bought Death Stranding. I can't put it down, and it's really
Hmm.
part of my life. I don't
Logan Lucky. Sorry.
I don't like that people said this game isn't action packed. I feel fucking betrayed and lied to. I'm like, this is.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, like not every. It's not a Call of Duty action. It's not like you're sitting there and every fucking 5 seconds, guns or bullets are whizzing by and all that shit. But I'm like, no, like if you really look at the game, it's pretty action packed, like pretty well. But the game is amazing, and I just have this fucking weird obsession with it. And I think I've probably in 6 days sank maybe 30 hours in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
It's one of those movies
it's
where
wonderful.
I know it's long side. I kind of didn't have any interest in it. There's his what's his name? Kojima?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of the like any of his games.
I tried Metal Gear Solid 1 and it was fucking difficult and I can't bother to get the PlayStation hooked up or PlayStation. Well, I mean PlayStation or the GameCube and just try it out. It's just too fucking it's too janky. And it drives
Yeah.
me crazy because I feel like I need to start at Metal Gear Solid 2 or 3. And 3 from what I hear is phenomenal. 2 I just like I've never heard anything about it. But like when controls are that slow from MGS1, it is really hard to adapt to that style. Like that's why I can't play Resident Evil 1 again. Like I used to like it as a kid and I just can't
Mm.
play it RE1 now cuz it's just too static.
Yeah. There's been a lot of games I've wanted to go back and try again, and there's not a lot of games that really hold up. I mean, aside from like, because there's a point that you got to where you really couldn't make a game that was going to really live up anymore because eventually the graphics are going to get too old and all that.
Right.
But then there was so you have like the NES and Super NES, right? Those games they were so simple that the graphics like you're never going to mistake them for an attempt at like hitting realism. But then when you get to like N64 PS1 era, you start to run into that era where they were trying to do 3D
Oh no.
graphics and make
Yeah.
everything look cool. But now there's such a big leap between those two. Where like
Yeah.
2D side scrolling, you're never going to look at that and say, "Oh, this doesn't look real." You're always going to look at that and say, "Oh, it's a 2D game." But then when you're looking at anything 3D, you're always going to have a certain level of this looks not quite right.
Interesting.
You know what you mean?
Yeah. It's the uncanny valley. It was like the idea that you're like something isn't quite right about it. You can't explain it, but there's something not right.
Well, what I'm talking about is kind of like the reverse of the uncanny valley to an extent because like when you see Call of Duty and stuff, right? Like it looks fairly real. So you're like, oh, cool, looks good. But then like when you go back and look at one of the original Call of Duty games, it's like, man, these graphics did not hold up very well. I mean, realistically, they did by comparison to other things from that time period. But
So I have the inverse of that to a small
it's like a
extent.
double-edged sword, I think.
I have a very small inverse to that. It's that the old Call of Duties had like building scale. Like your buildings, your structures, your skyscrapers, your landscapes, they seemed realistic to like the size of a person, like to scale models. All of the
Mm-hmm.
new Call of Duties, I'm like, oh, this is our comm tower, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is like a tent with a pole sticking out of it, and I hate that because it takes me out of every Call of Duty game. But like
Yeah,
when you talk about like just the actual character models and all that stuff, I gotta agree. Yeah, like it's just you know what you're getting. It looks pretty real. It's kind of hard to make a gun not look real.
yeah. Like I've seen a lot of I'm watching a lot of Star Wars stuff lately, and lately I've had these Battlefront 2 comparison videos popping up in my feed. Man, no matter where I put my face, I still pop the mic. Anyway,
Mm.
um, I've had a lot of these comparison videos between Battlefield 2 original and the more recent EA one, and watching it, it's actually surprising how well Battlefront 2 held up in a lot of ways. Um, to the new battle, I mean, to the new one. It's not even close graphically, like similar, but you would expect a game that's that old because I think it's almost 15 years old now or something like that. Because I think it
Oh,
was
you
like
mean
2005.
Battlefront 2? Sorry,
Yeah, I think I
I
said
thought you were talking about
Battlefield at one point.
no, I
Yeah,
thought
I
you
was
were
trying to
saying
make.
Star Wars Battlefront. I'm like, didn't that just come
Yeah,
out last year?
yeah, no. Star Wars Battlefront 2. There's two different ones.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like I meant the recent one. That's why I was like, what the fuck are you talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like there's comparison videos between the new one and the original, and apparently there was also one in like 2007 or something, like 2 years after the original, or no, 2017. I don't know. There was Battlefront 2, and it was re-released a few years later apparently. And then there was the new Battlefront 2. So there's comparison videos of all of them, and some of them it's really crazy to see what stayed similar and what like where they created some variants. But then it's also really interesting to see how well certain aspects of such an old game really did kind of hold up because like back then plenty of games did have like diverse environments and stuff, but it was surprising to see how well specifically this game held up by comparison to a lot of shooters at the time, because like you had a lot of, I mean, there was a lot of AI players and stuff on the field during those games too.
Well, that was kind of the interesting thing is that the AI programming is only so basic compared to now. But
Yeah.
I looked at one of the videos of the guy who made an ultimate epic battle simulator, and you're just looking at how it runs, and you're like, oh wow, that's pretty basic. It makes obvious sense. Why fuck with the formula? And then
Yeah.
you play Kojima game with Death Stranding. Motherfucker, why am I getting pinged? But yeah, like Kojima was like straight up like, I fucking feel like assaulted every time I'm fighting a mule, like to the fucking nth degree. And then you see a game like Titanfall, and you're like, what? This isn't. This is pretty basic. What's going on here?
I actually like that about Titanfall 2 though, was that it was somewhat basic. Like there wasn't a whole lot to like the weapons and all that. It was fairly basic. I feel like it actually benefited from that because even the mechs, even the Titans themselves weren't that complicated. And they kind
Titanfall
of just
is
focused on like the movement and all that for the most part, I think.
it's brutally underrated. And the
Oh
one
yeah.
thing that I think needs to be explored more often is the mechanics of like the grunts in Titanfall. More games need that. Like don't get me wrong, you can't have that in like a competitive game. Like these
Hmm.
little NPC units that are just almost always guaranteed to die and maybe
Yeah.
occasionally get a kill on you. But like I'm not gonna lie, for the first 2 or 3 weeks of me playing Titanfall 1, because I didn't play 2. I have sinned upon God. I know. When I played it,
It's actually free on PlayStation if you have PlayStation.
I did not. So I might have to
It's
get
free
that.
right now on PlayStation Plus.
I'm gonna fucking have to write this shit down. Fuck my life. But the the
Man, I've
one
been off Twitter for 3 days and I'm informing you about all this media stuff. The
I
frick?
have been busy with a girlfriend. She was in town.
To be fair, it's mostly old stuff. I was just kidding.
Yeah. Well, you probably got people hitting you up in the DMs, but
Nah.
it was an ecstatic feeling every time dropping into a map, seeing like three people, granted they're grunts, and just walking up and kicking them in the face, and then being shot at by somebody else because you were making noise, and you're like, oh, I just killed them. I killed four fucking people, even though
Mm,
you just killed three AI. You know you killed three AI, but you feel like you just stomped the shit out of some people.
yeah.
More games need that.
Oh yeah, it's like especially now that typical bot multiplayer is gone pretty much in gaming. It's nice to have that extra little. Okay, at least I can get something. If I'm gonna match with a bunch of people, it kind of boosts your confidence a little bit. It kind of helps your motivation for one. Um, and then also there's also this little issue that happens when you're playing something like Call of Duty, where the more times you die without a kill, the more frustrated you get.
Oh yeah,
That doesn't happen so much in those games because you don't feel like you're just kind of being bombarded with deaths because you're still able to kill something. So you feel like you're getting something out of it. Whereas when you're just playing Call of Duty, getting wrecked over and over again, you feel like you're wasting your time.
interesting.
At least for me, anyway.
No, I agree with you. I gotta say off that thought though, I wish there were more games where you could literally just play for 10 minutes and be done. There really seems to
Yeah,
be a lack of those.
that's why I don't like multiplayer. I mean, like story mode games for the most part, because most of them require too much in time investment.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas like Call of Duty, you hop on, takes like 5 minutes from starting your console to get into a game, play around, and you're done. It's simple.
That to me always takes too long. I'm like fast, quick, load it up fast, get it playing fast,
Yeah,
quick, quick, quick. That's why I like some
play Call of Duty Mobile, or played Raid Shadow Legends, the game that is. I'm not gonna go with that meme.
I will click start. I will click auto run, and I will win Raid's Shadow Legends. I will win it every time.
That game has become such a meme on the platform right now.
I'm bummed because it looks like it was fun, and then I saw my buddy play it, and I'm just like, you you play this? He's like, yeah. Why? It's something I can run in the background. Okay, that sounds fun.
Yeah,
I
it's actually surprisingly widely played.
it
It's it's not just a meme. It's a meme, but at the same time, there's actually quite a large player base.
well, speaking on that note, because it is kind of a thing. So I wanted to do, and we're 23 minutes in, of course. Now we're going to talk about the thing we're going to talk about was kind of
Yeah.
a decade in review and what we expect of the next decade coming up. But the one thing I really want to work on this decade is my bug mobile game. I have this game that I really really want to work on, and I think it could be very big and very phenomenal in the sense that I gotta ask you because I don't know if you have this problem like I do.
Okay.
Do you have any phone games other than like Scrabble, for example, where you can play in turn mode with other people and just let it be? Like, oh, I made my turn. You go whenever you have time on your phone to make your turn as well.
No, there's not enough of them.
I
Words with Friends is the only one I think I've played. And that one basically I think required you to have Facebook friends to play it.
right.
Um, so and since I don't really have a whole lot of IRL friends, as we talked about before. Um, I don't really have anybody to play that kind of stuff with.
I mean, even if something with your
It
wife,
would
it's
be
like
nice to have. Oh yeah, my wife and I played a little bit of that. It got old though. I don't know
right.
because I'll be honest. I won every time. I have a much larger vocabulary than my wife does, so
Hey,
it was
fucking
not
shit are
hard for me
very
to win.
important words.
I knew how to use big words to
Oh,
my advantage.
I don't do that
That's
good.
basically what it came down to.
But no, I
um,
don't know any of these games. So I keep asking people, and I'm like, the only one I ever hear is Scrabble. And I wonder
mm,
because we can both agree that's not like a huge profit maker. Like you can make a
Uh,
lot of money from just letting people passively play when they get the free time. But
yeah,
what
aside
if
from
you
ads.
just did something like, hey, you can play the game for free like Hearthstone, but we got like little packs and boosters, and you watch an ad every once in a while. And if you give me like $5, you never have to watch ads, and the game's free forever, type of thing.
That one's iffy to me.
Why is that?
Um, because I don't know, like you hop in the game, it's only going to take a few seconds to make your move, and then you're done, right? I mean, granted, theoretically, you're playing Words with Friends or Scrabble or whatever, you're going to get the same thing anyway. But for that, you're talking about like if you have to watch an ad or something, you'd have to watch like a 30-second ad to play your Yu-Gi-Oh monster and then back out again. I don't know.
Well,
It just
for
seems like it'd be. It seems like the amount of time you'd have to wait for the ad, unless you had them paying for a membership or something,
right.
it would be excessive. And at that point, you could probably just charge them a membership to begin with without the ad.
Well, I feel like when you paywall something from the get-go, especially with mobile, people aren't willing to make that risk. And I feel like the difference is with my imagine like chess, but you can make like multiple moves per turn. So you literally throw open the game, you watch like a 15 to 30-second ad. I'm paraphrasing, but
Uh-huh.
basically being like, oh yeah, you obviously see the board as it's laid out, and then you sit there for like a minute and you go, oh, okay, I'm gonna move here, 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 do this attack, do this attack, do this attack, and then you're like, hey, I've done my turn. Your turn's next. That's like a solid like 2 to 3 minutes maybe. It depends on how slow you are, but like, you can get that down to like 30 seconds. You can get that up to like 5 minutes if you're that slow. But it's a very
Uh,
thought out game.
the issue I have with that though is you're talking about predicting what the next person is going to do too.
Oh yeah,
So let's say you're playing Hearthstone, you attack a monster, but that monster is now gone because it had to be sacrificed for something.
right.
Well, then how's the game proceed? Your one action is now gone, so you can't make that action. So what do you do?
Well, I mean, it's like any turn-based game. One person makes all their turns at once, and then they make their turn next at all at once.
Okay, I guess I misunderstood you because when you're saying turns, usually it means because it's turn based. It's like all of your actions in one turn is a turn.
Yeah.
Usually, it's not referred to as this monster's turn, this monster's turn, this monster. Anyway.
Well, kind of like a Hearthstone, where it's like, I'm just because people know what Hearthstone is, but basically it's like you have a certain number of like gems in Hearthstone that you get
Hmm.
every round. Kind of the same thing. You have a certain amount of moves you can make per turn, type of thing.
Right.
So, it's if you want, I'll tell you about it off stream because I am serious. I'm trying to figure out like this is my kind of like hopeful decade goal is if I'm making any money from
Yeah.
future endeavors that I'll set aside time to work on the Epic, the game creating engine, the Unreal Engine. Jesus Christ, I couldn't think of the name. And I'm gonna try to build a very rough beta and see if maybe I could sell it to like Epic or something like that. Because I feel like there is a lack of games like this where it's like cutesy, so that it's like you feel like you're competing against somebody, but also that you don't have to be on it all the time.
Yeah.
Like I can't stand that there's no Hearthstone mode where it's like, "Oh, you and your one buddy can play a Hearthstone match when you get time together." Like I'd play it way more often, but you can't do that. You need to be on the board at all moments otherwise you forfeit the match. I'm like, "Why?" How hard would it be to encode that? And I'm like, it could be really hard to program that. I just don't know. So it's one of those things I'm
Yeah.
going to look into.
I mean, I feel like ideally, a game like I'm trying to think of the turn or what the name is. It's also turn based, but it's like RTSs. I feel like RTSs are prime for that kind of thing. Because you have multiple not factions, multiple groups of people or multiple characters or whatever to move around the area, and then make their attacks and all that, and then the next person takes their turn entirely. That one feels like it makes even more sense because you have so much time you have to take to calculate how far your characters can move, and then which character is going to be able to survive the longest. Do I have to run? How.
Right.
So realistically, I mean, like I feel like that's one that should have probably already existed in that way, and it hasn't yet. There's a lot. See, the problem is the problem with mobile games is before we move on, that they tend to focus on making them as simple as possible, because they don't want to give you enough content. If they give you too much content, then you're not going to play the game in the ways they need you to profitize it, to monetize it. They
Which
need to make it as simple as possible to incentivize that stuff.
and it's not impossible to do that at the same time. Like, don't get me.
Oh, it's not, but
I
they don't want to bother.
I think Raid Shadow Legends has like the money, and here's the thing: is like if they have the recurring money coming in, what benefit do you have not finding other sources of revenue? All you're trying to do when you have that audience is try to grow your whales. And it's like, I mean, don't get me wrong, whales make up a huge part of their money, but like, there's all these other people here who you're gonna lose inevitably that are a percentage of your profits. It's not impossible. It's just not particularly the most profitable of the options. So I mean, I get it.
Yeah,
It's just I'll tell you about it off stream. It,
yeah. So what else? What else you got going on for 2020 to 2030?
fucking Gary V. No. Well, why don't you tell us one of your 2020 options first? Because I totally have
Uh,
one.
hopefully this is a long shot, but hopefully, um, find a way to make money online to the point where I don't have to work my regular job, so that I have more time to work on content, and also uh get in a healthier space, because I can still reverse my diabetes, but I have to really change a lot that I can't change in my current living situation.
In what
Those are my two
sense?
big things. Hmm?
In what sense?
Well, my diabetic situation is still at the point where it's not irreversible. Um,
Right.
because basically I just have to, like, lose weight, change my diet, and all that stuff. And unfortunately, because of the way my life functions right now, I don't have time or money to uh afford a gym or have time to go to a gym. Uh, time the ability to afford enough food for all of my family, um, and time to make healthy meals is not always there. As much as I can, we do, but it's not always there. So but what I need is to increase all of those things, and the exercise and the healthy eating. And if
Okay.
I can do that, I can reverse some of my issues. Um, Problem is, again, like I said, just I'm not in a situation where that's viable right now. So, but
Well,
basically, yeah,
aren't you
it's
in luck?
basically
I can teach you how to do that. I can teach you with my YouTube series I'm gonna be doing this year. Well, so okay, let me go back to serious. Cause no, this is an important thing that I feel like every fucking adult has to deal with in some capacity, and it's hard as fuck. I get that, but you'd be
mm-hmm.
surprised how kind of easy it is if you know how to fight whatever it is holding you back. Like, for
Yeah.
example, my problem right now is volume. I eat too much of things. So
Mm-hmm.
I build my recipes to be like, how do I eat a lot, but it's not a lot calorically? So, like, a good example is cauliflower rice, for example. Yeah,
Yeah.
cauliflower is pretty gross, but when you take cauliflower rice and you go, I'm gonna throw in, I don't know, a smidge of soy sauce, no salt, and you just go, fuck, I can have a metric pile of cauliflower rice and throw in some pork in there and then basically have like a weird version of some sort of ramen, and you go, oh wow, I just basically ate an entire pound of food, but it's cauliflower, so calorically it's damn near nothing.
Yeah.
And when you can find out what that thing is, I'd be more than willing to help out with like giving you suggestions and tips and some simple cooking foods, because the obvious big factor is time. I mean, how much time do
Yeah.
you realistically have to make food every day?
I get home at like 5 o'clock, and my son has to go to bed at like 7. I have to do dishes and trash and stuff like that when I get home. Um, and then make dinner and feed, and we have to feed him, and then get him ready for bed. If he needs a shower, if he needs a bath before bed, you got to have him like done before eating before 7. So yeah, it's not much time at all. That's why we end up eating things like grilled cheese or I don't know. Anyway,
Well, I'd be more than happy to actually do some things where I'm like making like straight up dedicated like what you need, you tell me, and I will make them for you. I mean,
yeah.
I'm on stream, obviously. So yeah, what I'm gonna be doing starting the year, this is gonna suck, but I'm gonna be live streaming cooking. I'm gonna try to do it every other slash every 3 days,
Hmm.
because I cook in volume. Like I cook like 7 meals, 10 plus meals every time I cook. Like because there's 4 people in my house, they're all adults, we're all fat, so we eat a lot, and I understand that blight of being like I am not cooking every fucking day. You can go fuck yourselves. Like so, but the thing is like I'm having that same problem you're kind of having where like I just don't have time. Like right now, I have to deal with apartment shit. I gotta fix my house up. I gotta move in practically 6 months. I gotta deal with a job. I'm trying to do like sponsorship help. It's like I ain't got no fucking time for this shit. I don't want to be focusing my time on this shit.
Yeah.
So I'll have a ton of shit. You should keep your
That's
eyeballs
that's where I'm at with making videos and stuff right now. Actually, is I just don't have time. It's like as much as I want to. That's what I want to be doing. I just don't have time. So then when I try and force myself to do it, it kills it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's it seems like it's a running theme right now for people.
Well,
So
I'm happy to announce I can teach you at least one thing, and it's actually really easy and it's fucking delicious in my opinion. Do you care for oatmeal at all?
almost all right.
What about the wife?
I think she eats it too every once in a while.
So there's this thing called overnight oats. It sounds stupid because it sounds kind of obvious, but I gotta be honest, I'm like it's phenomenal. So here's what you do: take I'm the worst at recipeing, so you can do your own numbers or you can look up on websites this stuff and do your own comparative numbers. But basically, you take like let's say 2 cups of oats. Okay, well, oatmeal is just oats. That's boring. That's nothing. So what you
Hmm.
do is to get a consistency. What you have to do is you have to throw it in the fridge overnight. So what you do is you throw in chia seeds as well. They got your omega-3 fatty acids. It gets you some healthy fats in there, some other minerals and vitamins and shit. So then what
And
you
what do I
do
do with the
is,
statue?
well, you eat it obviously.
Isn't it made of
Cha-cha-cha-ching.
ceramic?
I think you have this problem. I think I could be wrong here, which is you are not willing to try looking stupid in front of people. Eat the ceramic.
My man, I've had my shirt off in YouTube videos, and I'm fat with
That's
man titties.
that's nothing.
I'm not afraid to look stupid in front of people.
I love seeing the Ian level of stupid. Going that extra mile. It is rewarding every time. Although it sucks when you don't have other people to share that with. I will not lie. Like,
Yeah.
but no. Okay, so oatmeal, chia seeds. You throw in a couple servings of chia seeds to get the omega-3 fatty acids, and then you throw milk in. Now, if you're lactose intolerant or you just dislike milk, you can also use almond milk. Really fucking good, super healthy. Now we have a base. This is literally like a soup. You basically have your broth right here. But the thing is, your broth here is basically the nutrition of it. Now you can just add shit in and be super flexible with it. So the number one thing I usually recommend adding, and in fact you probably really should to give it a little bit of a looseness, like kind of an oatmeal familiarity, you throw in some Greek yogurt in that bitch. Uh, Plain Greek yogurt, you can buy it in the tub, super cheap.
I like how you said to give it some oatmeal familiarity. Add yogurt. Add yogurt to the oatmeal to make it taste like oatmeal.
Because
It's just, this is
oatmeal,
fun. Sounds funny.
oatmeal, whenever you cook it, it's just like that mushiness to it. It's shit. It tastes like you're eating fucking shit.
Depends on how you're making it.
I
I mean,
feel
I usually
like
put raisins in mine.
well, you can
Usually
do
put
raisins
raisins
in
in
it.
it. Milk, raisins, maybe a little bit of brown sugar.
But now, here's where the kicker comes in. You don't need to add any of that shit if you know how to spice it. And actually, the next thing I recommend is if you got a fruit you like, you throw in a little bit of that fruit.
You
Dice
mean
it
like the raisins I just mentioned?
like the raisins you just mentioned. But you can do
Like I
something
said, a
better.
pinch, a little pinch, a little pinch. Since Mike doesn't want to stop popping, of brown sugar. That's all it is, like a pinch.
You don't want to use brown sugar in this one. You want to use the Greek
Maybe not
yogurt.
in that one. I'm talking about what I do.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know what you do. I know what I
No,
do
you
too.
don't.
I'm
You
fucking
didn't
fat.
know. You didn't
You
even know
just
what I
told
put.
me.
Yeah, yeah, but you said oh, I know what you do. You don't
Okay,
know what I do.
let me guess then. Let me guess. You'll do that, and you'll make yourselves the pre-made oatmeal. You won't use
No,
that
Quaker Oats.
Quaker Oats, the pre-made shits.
No, it's not pre-made. It comes
What
in a giant thing. You have to boil it. My dog.
is it? Rolled or unrolled? How about that?
What do you mean rolled around? What do you mean?
Rolled oats or unrolled oats?
That I don't know. All I know is it's not instant oatmeal.
Well, anyway, because now I'm getting off my own track here. God damn it.
The stream is titled Ricky Gervais, and we're talking about oatmeal.
Well, let's fucking finish this recipe,
Talk
motherfucker.
talk about going from something with a lot of color to something that's super bland.
I bet you Ricky Gervais eats oatmeal. He lost a fuckload of pounds.
I didn't say he doesn't.
He went vegan. He has to eat overnight oats. It's like a fucking mandatory meal if you're a vegan, fucking trendy hip hop ager. But anyway, so now you got your
Maybe.
base. What you can do is you can just literally spice it. I do pumpkin spice shit. If you want some nutmeg or some
Oh,
ginger.
you're immediately discounted then.
What?
Discredited immediately.
Well,
Pumpkin spice, basic blonde
I am
girl.
a fucking basic bitch when it
What do
comes
you
to my
pour?
overnight
What do you pour
oats.
Starbucks cold brew in there while you're at
No,
it?
I make my own cold brew. Thank you very much.
Oh, that changes everything.
I I drink White Claw and punch cardboard. I am a Kyle basic bitch white girl. I fucking wear hair ties. Who am I? What do you want from me? Do you want a
Man,
fucking
the last
manly
decade has
man?
not been great to you, has it?
You want a manly man? You want me to chop some wood? Guess what? I've fucking done that. You want me to build a table? Guess what? I've fucking done that. I'm tiling my fucking bathroom. And you know what? I want to drink more fucking White Claws.
I'm not gonna lie. I actually kind of wish I had some White Claw right now.
But no, like, you have something right here, and you basically just go, what do I feel today? Do I feel like some fucking cinnamon? Do I feel like some apple in there? Do I feel like pineapple, a banana? You
I
just
love
have your
pineapple.
base. You have.
I love pine nipple.
I
Pine
know.
nipple is the best.
Oh God, no. Ugh. Eh. You ever had fucking pineapple
Now I'm
nipple?
just picturing a pineapple, but it's a bunch of nipples on the outside instead of the little spines.
Oh, I was figuring a nipple that was pine flavored. That's disgusting. I've had it.
Ew,
Ugh.
ew. It's like you just hang a pine air freshener off the nipple.
Oh, you just rub a pine cone.
That'll work too.
Hey man, people when they're bored they do weird shit and it's disgusting and
Just a
that
bra
takes me.
made out of pine needles.
But yeah, so shit like that, and then like other obvious shit like fucking pot roast, crock pot shit.
Yeah.
You just have an item that's your base. That's super easy to make, and breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you just go, what do I add to this base to make it somewhat different, even though it's the same shit?
You know, it's funny how many people have said, "Oh, you just add stuff to it." To me, I've had like 9 different people tell me that. Oh, it's simple. Here's what you do. You just like you get broth and meat, put it in a crock pot, or you get this and this, and you put it in there, and then you just add stuff to it. Because that's how seasoning works. Right, but you got to know how things complement each other. It's not common sense to everyone what goes with what and how everything works.
You know, that's really weird you say that. I've only just realized that people don't think like that.
Well, because they don't know. Usually, like think about that. That's like that is think about it. That is the primary job of a chef.
Yeah.
Seasoning. There's a reason that you go to school to learn that
See,
because it's not common knowledge.
I didn't school go to school to learn that. I went to school to learn how to use a fucking knife, and then I just basically went. I have an imagination. I just learned from
You went to
trial and
school to
error.
learn how to knife. I
Basically,
just cut
yeah.
myself a bunch of times until I figured it out that you're not supposed to do that.
No, I call my culinary experience, my culinary arts degree, basically a glorified driver's ed class. I learned a lot, yeah,
Wait, you actually have? Do you really have a culinary arts degree?
yeah. I haven't
You, you,
wasted
you
my money.
know,
Yes, I know.
no, 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 no. That's even worse if you have that degree and you're like, oh, it's just add things.
All
That
right,
makes it even worse.
all right.
Like
No, no,
I
no.
had my boss who never went to school for
Fucking no.
cooking in any way,
Okay,
and she said the same thing to me.
let me teach you something. Let me show you how my brain works. I'm 100 being legit here. I'm being serious here. What does a carrot taste like? What does celery taste like? What does beef taste like? What does onion taste like? These all combined taste earthy except for the meat. So how do I take these items and make them together so that the meat doesn't taste earthy? Because that doesn't want to be a complemented taste. And I sit there and go,
Although, okay, but the problem is, wait, the key ingredient here is that you have to know what the seasonings,
you don't.
how the seasonings affect it, to know what to put in it.
No, I'm telling you, you don't. It's if you want to like do everything to order. If I'm cooking a steak on the pan and I'm cooking it for one person to eat that steak, that carrot meal, that potato I'm cooking for them, right? Yes, I gotta agree with you. But if I'm cooking food for the desired outcome of that I need sustenance that tastes good, is healthy, and affordable, those three things tend to work very hand in hand. They really do. Like I am not bullshitting you here. I'm being dead serious.
Okay, I'm confused where where the shift in the conversation happened.
Because you don't need to learn seasoning to make food good.
You just described how bland the basic food is.
I didn't say it was bland. I said it was earthy.
It all tastes earthy.
Yeah.
You said how do these taste? They all taste earthy except for the meat. So where's the flavor? If there's not a lot of flavor, they all taste kind of just earthy. Then they're bland.
Do you not like earthy flavor? I'm curious here.
When you say earthy, I just keep thinking dirt. I'm not. I have no idea what
Yeah.
you mean by earthy. Earthy.
Like when somebody says
But do
something
you
is
like the taste of
some
dirt? I mean, I personally wouldn't go out and get a bowl full of dirt for breakfast.
if I'm
Not
making
gonna
like
hate.
if I'm making a soup with the intention of it having like an earthy flavor, yeah, that's my
Okay, but
palate
here, see what
language.
see.
Yeah.
Okay, but see here, we're back to the idea of your intention of the flavor. I don't know what the outcome is going to be combining different fruits, vegetables, and all that stuff. I can only guess at what it's going to be because I don't know until I make it. That means that for me to figure out what all these different combinations are, I have to actually make the stuff, which is a lot of money to spend on it, and then find out, oh, well, I just made all this dinner for us and it all sucks. So I'm going to have to start over now with something else. Wasted money, effort, and time. Seasoning can help all that. And like we were just talking about, which before we got onto the idea that earthy flavor was the way to go, I was saying that I don't know how to season things. People generally don't know how to season things. I'm not sure why we ended up on earthy.
Well, I can round that out because I actually, as you said that again, I noticed I left out an important thingy about that, which is cooking things properly. I I'll be a little bit of a contentious person here, where I say the best flavor of something, with the exception of a few things, comes from the item itself. So like the best flavor for if I want like a wine flavor in my soup, I don't need to get some fancy wine. I just need to get a wine. It doesn't matter how high the caliber, what spices or what flavors I add. I just need to make the initial property correctly. So if I want like a really good steak, I don't actually need to salt, pepper, garlic, and whatever it. If I just know how to make the steak well on its own, that stands on its own 90% of the time, in my opinion.
I don't know. I disagree because, like I said, it's about flavor for me. That's one of the reasons I don't go to a place and have somebody make me a steak. I feel it's a huge waste of my money to have a chef make a steak for me because it's going to taste almost the same if I make it at home. It's not going to necessarily be cooked as well or taste exactly the same as high end, but it's not going to cost, 15 bucks for what I can pay $5 for something close to the taste.
Well,
For
then,
me, the
what
for
do you
me the
normally get at a restaurant then?
consistency of the cook, huh?
What do you normally get at a restaurant?
I'll actually usually get bar food because it's cheaper,
Get bar
like
food.
burger, cheesesteak, something like that.
So you'll go for more just like a little bit more processed, but the seasonings there, like the flavor.
No, cost efficiency.
Oh, so
Something I
cost
know I
efficient.
like, but is also not something I know I like, but is also not ridiculously expensive for what I feel that I'm getting. Because like with a steak, if you get a small steak, like a small steak you can get, it's still gonna be like 13, 14 bucks. Most places you go around here.
Okay, well, what if I told you I can give you the most simple fried chicken recipe that is literally just chicken breast, a little bit of flour, and salt, pepper. If I just showed you how to cook it right,
I
what
mean, I've made, I even, I even made Dorito flavored chicken tenders before. I mean, it's not hard to do that, but it's not healthy. It's not necessarily, it's somewhat cheap, but
well, that's the thing is that you can actually kind of do it healthy, kind of. Fried chicken, yes, is obviously not the healthiest of options, but
no.
you literally what you do is you fry it so that the flour, and what I do is I don't flour it
The
and then
flour
batter
is
it.
the flour is like one of the unhealthiest parts of it because
Yes,
all the starch in it.
but what you don't do is you don't batter it. See, if you batter like you think of a fried chicken, you think of like a country fried chicken with like a buttermilk fry on it, right? You literally just take flour, throw some salt and pepper in the flour, dredge it in there a couple times so that it gets a little thick in there. You
Mm.
drop the chicken in a fryer using the proper grease, which is usually like a higher smoke point, something maybe a little bit healthier. It depends on what
We've
type
used
of guy
vegetable
you are,
oil.
which is pretty common. But
And
there's
then the other thing is we usually just use an egg wash. Even the restaurant I worked at, we used an egg wash. There was no batter. It was just
I
egg
wouldn't even
wash,
use the egg
butter, bread.
wash. I don't even use the egg wash. So I
Yeah.
literally just drop my chicken in there. I wait until that flour gets slightly browned, just ever so slightly. I take it, I put it on a wire rack, and I bake it off in the oven until it hits a 160 to 162. Pull it out of the oven, let it come to 165, and I've got. Granted, it's not the healthiest chickens, but it's healthier than just a deep fried chicken.
Yeah.
So coming back to the original thing, it's just the essential characteristic of the food is usually the main star attractor to what I'm cooking. Like, yes, I will obviously do seasoning and spicing. I'm not necessarily saying like that's not a thing. I'm saying is that that usually pales to a dry turkey. Like, is a dry
Hmm.
turkey with a bunch of seasoning on it good, or is a properly cooked turkey with a little bit of salt better? In my opinion, it's the turkey with a little bit of salt that's cooked properly. So I
No.
guess that actually might be a simple. That's probably an easier way to say what I'm trying to say. God damn it.
I don't know. Like that's the thing is I mean I do most of the cooking. It's you make a steak or you make pasta or whatever. It's not hard to do the base cooking.
Uh, some people don't get that.
But I mean that's what I'm saying. It's like for me, like even once you do that, it just tastes like nah. Unless you I mean like the best is when I use like one of the pre-made marinades and marinate it overnight, um or 2 days even sometimes. That's about the best as it usually tastes. But even then it's like I couldn't replicate that flavor without the marinade because I have no idea how to construct it. That's what I was saying.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
but I mean, like for instance, last night we had taco mac, which I just you use the taco seasoning you buy from the store instead of buying little packets or whatever. I bought
Yeah.
actual taco seasoning.
Taco
Um,
seasoning is one of those things you just buy it in bulk. It's way easier.
yeah, yeah. And then I bought just ground beef and chop up some onion. Put Mexican blend cheese in there in the actual ground beef, and then it was just pasta with some diced tomatoes. But that's still not healthy because it's ground beef, cheese, and pasta.
Well, what if you
But
just
there's not a whole lot of healthier things I could think of to make last night that we had in the house without making a 25 minutes
Yeah,
trip to the
I was
mall
about to
to the
say. So,
store.
what's the expected outcome of that? Was that it's short to cook all that because it's obviously a one pot thing. So,
Well, it's two because you have to make the ground beef and the pasta. But yes,
oh,
basically that is
okay.
shorter and simpler than making a lot of other stuff. Because if I'm just making the ground beef, I would have to go and get if I was gonna make tacos, I'd have to go to the store to get lettuce, tomato. I'd have to go get all the other stuff you need to make tacos. Because if we were just having ground beef and cheese in the wrap, it wouldn't taste very good. But for some reason, if the way you mix it with the pasta mac, it tastes better.
So, like, when you're normally cooking, because now I'm fully fascinated in your cooking life. Like, I'm
Maybe
in.
we need to change the name of the stream.
No, we talked about Ricky Gervais the first few
Did
minutes. So
we?
yeah. So we got the clickbait in. Come on. We talked about it for like 8 minutes, and then, or sorry, five
We
minutes,
did
and
that
then
before we went live, didn't we?
no, we went live, and then we were talking about it for 5 minutes, and then we went into something else for like 3 or 4 more minutes, and then somehow we got onto 2020, and now we're on food because I'm fully enamored in your cooking lifestyle. Because I'm trying to think to myself is like, what on the spot can I say that gets you a recipe that's cheap, takes 20 to 25 minutes, that can be realistic? Because that's the thing is I do this I used to do this all the time where it's like, oh yeah, all you gotta do is cook for an hour, and I'm like, oh wait, people don't have an hour to cook all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued. I think the first thing you need to try, it's gonna sound super tacky here, is just a very basic, take chicken, take just turkey breast, dice it up into like quarter-inch cubes the night before, take it, stick it in a bowl with Italian dressing. That's it. Start there. Literally just a classic vinaigrette. So you take vinegar,
Wait. Vinaigrette. Wait.
like a salad
You're
dressing.
saying you're saying just chicken and turkey cubes?
No. Just you cube up the chicken. So you cut it up into like quarter-inch to half-inch,
Uh huh.
depending how big you want it. I don't know how big you like your chicken usually. You take it, you marinate it in Italian dressing. And then when you cook it in the pan, you don't need to use oil because there's already oil in the Italian dressing. You
Yeah.
crowd the pan. That's the hard part. That takes a little bit more time. Is you use two pans, and you got to make sure there's plenty of space for the chicken. So that way it's flattened out a little bit. It's got a little bit of room in there. And then as soon as it's cooking in there, just throw a bit of garlic on there because the shit on the dressing never has enough. You take it, you got to get some grill marks on there, which is a little hard to do. You take it, you finish in the oven on a relatively medium heat, and you got some pretty damn good chicken. Now, the key here is you don't buy that shitty wishbone Italian dressing. You literally just buy a classic Italian vinaigrette, which is literally water, vinegar, oil, couple herbs and spices in there. I'm I'm being dead serious. That's how
No, I mean
simple.
I've made basically that before. I've used Italian dressing as a marinade before. I've used wishbone, but I've used other dressings as well, other Italian dressings. Matter of fact, one of the things I actually do more common than that even is I with chicken specifically I do most more commonly than steak or pork chops or anything. Um, I will put a little bit of breadcrumb on the chicken after I put some ranch dressing on it. because the ranch just cooks in like any other marinade does.
See, I'm not a
Um,
fan of ranch personally. As time has gone by, I've grown to not like it anymore.
yeah,
But
it's a little strong for me anymore, but it's when you're only getting a little bit from the breadcrumbs really, which is kind of what it turns into because it goes kind of watery when it gets hot.
right,
Um, so it doesn't really cook into the chicken as much. It's more into the breadcrumbs. um, and then the chicken also doesn't cook really hot because it's being cooled a little bit by the ranch. So it never really burns really.
okay.
At least in my experience, it hasn't. Not as much as with other cooking methods. But what I usually do is I just do
Are you
um
using like coated pans
seasoned
or do you
salt
use like steel pans?
glassware.
What's that?
Hmm?
Glassware?
Yeah,
Oh, so you bake it and the such?
yeah. Normally I bake it because I have other things to do. So I'll just throw it in the oven. I actually have seasoned salt. I had some cook it with some seasoned salt the other night. It's
Well, that's kind
in
of
the
where
fridge right now.
I'm a big proponent of like you cook it in the pan first and then you finish it in the oven because it kind of gives you the best of both worlds. It's not always easy.
I hate doing dishes.
Who?
No,
Find me somebody who likes doing dishes.
honestly though, like I really well yeah, but I don't know. I we have to hand wash everything here,
Oh yeah, me
so
too.
it's a pain in the nuts. Um. Anyway, yeah.
So
So
it's not easy.
that's been about 30 minutes of conversation about cooking.
All right, well, let's all go on for another 15 minutes of cooking as I educate you more about the healthy endeavors of dessert. If you ever have money, I don't know if you have banana intolerance or any of that stuff because my buddy does.
No, I'm
Uh,
good.
there's this item called the Magic Bullet.
I have one.
We were gifted it. It's the thing that makes the ice cream from the bananas. Do you know what I'm talking about? Or like the bullet blender.
Oh, I have the blender. I don't have it. I don't have whatever that is.
Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. I said magic bullet. I mean dessert bullet. It's called the dessert bullet.
Ah,
Sorry, that's my
okay.
mistake. It is literally a churner. That's all it is. You take bananas, you churn them through the fucking thing. You push down like you're pushing for a sausage. You have bananas that taste goddamn exactly like vanilla ice cream. I am shitting you not. I taste almost exactly like vanilla ice cream. And all you do is drizzle a little bit of honey over it, or if you want to like throw like some chocolate chips, or if you want to throw like granola over it, best fucking dessert you'll have. Only
I'm
problem is
confused. Wait, you're saying that just the banana blended up tastes like
you
vanilla ice
freeze the
cream?
bananas first. You have to peel them and freeze them first.
Okay.
You take a banana. I go with when they have about like a couple of black spots on there, but not too many because you get them a little too mushy. You freeze them overnight, and bananas will hold in the freezer for like a month or two. They hold a very long time. You push
Right.
them through this thing. It comes out like ice cream. Well, it comes out looking like sausage almost, but it comes out in ice cream sized, and you throw a little bit of honey on there, and it's already pre-sweetened because it's a fucking banana. It tastes
Mm-hmm.
like ice cream. The only downside to it, well, there's a couple of cleaning downsides, but the only like flavor downside is that you have to eat it fast because it thaws pretty fast. But even still, I'm like, even after like 20, 30 minutes, it's still kind of cold. But you're eating a fucking banana that tastes like ice
What
cream.
do you
The
mean? Even if it just I don't it doesn't make any sense to me how freezing a banana would make it taste like not banana ice cream.
it
That's I think where I'm getting hung up here. And then you threw me off a little bit when you said the fact that the banana will thaw and it wouldn't turn into a liquid. It would just turn into mush,
it mushes a little bit.
which would still be more like ice cream than ice cream when it melts, which also melts pretty quickly.
Well, ice cream becomes soupy. Banana kind of holds like a frothy, soupy thing when it gets really, really far gone. But ideally, if you're making it, you're going to eat it within 20, 30 minutes. So that's kind of like
Yeah.
the cognitive trade off. Is you're going, oh, this is like ice cream. I'm going to eat it pretty fast.
Yeah.
It's super healthy. And here's where the part that sucks about it comes into play. Calorically, it's about the same as ice cream. So there is a bit of a trade-off where you go,
Wait a minute. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. Bananas are loaded with sugar,
oh yeah,
and calorically, it's a problem. So how is it healthy?
tons of vitamins and nutrients, healthier sugars than processed white sugar from ice cream, and not as loaded with fats. There are fats in it, but you're also getting the potassium and just vitamins and minerals.
So by that logic, is it basically the same thing as just eating a banana split?
No, because banana split has ice cream in it, right?
Right, but you're talking about just a little bit extra fat, right? Isn't fat also a good thing?
For dessert time, preferably no. You don't want to load up on fats dessert time. It's also not ideal to load up on sugars at dessert time, but
So it
something.
depends on what you see as dessert time, also.
Oh yeah, like I'll usually have mine around 7 or 8ish, and if I'm going to bed at
Hmm.
11, that's not terrible.
Yeah, a lot of people will have it like right after dinner. We eat late because of when I get home, but most people eat dinner like 4 or 5 o'clock. My understanding.
Yeah, the biggest yeah like it stinks because the thing is expensive, but I'm like fairly certain any churning device that will specifically not smush it to hell will do the same
Mm-hmm.
job, and I imagine those are pretty cheap. But you just look at the nutritional facts of a banana versus ice cream, and you're just like, yeah, it's the same amount of calories, but it just has potassium and carbohydrates and sugars and a little less fat, so it just beats it out. And the nice thing is that a lot of fiber, so kicks out that little bit of nighttime craving, which is really nice.
Oh my word!
Well,
Apparently Epstein. Apparently Epstein made an. Apparently, sorry, I said Epstein. Apparently Ricky Gervais made an Epstein joke. Apparently he made an Epstein didn't kill himself joke. NBC Entertainment tweeted out Ricky Gervais kicks off the Golden Globes, and it's a 7 minute 46 second, and it looks like it's the monologue. So rather than what they normally do, where they like back down and they're a little worried about it and all that, it looks like they actually embraced that he went this hard. I can't believe Ricky Gervais made an Epstein joke at the Golden Globes.
Ricky Gervais.
I can't wait.
I can't.
I can't wait to hear that.
Ricky Gervais to celebrate at the Golden Globes. You're in no position to lecture the public about anything you know nothing about the real world. Ends telling award winners to fuck off.
I love it. uh,
Damn, boy.
oh my word. I'm looking at group chats and stuff right now, and they are lighting up.
I gotta be honest though, who cares about the fucking Golden Globes? Who gives a fuck?
Not many people. I mean, I'll be honest. I think Ricky Gervais probably feels that way. It's like this is a job for me. It's probably one of the reasons he doesn't care so much about going that hard. I just can't. I can imagine how many people are offended that he spoke to them like that. That's the thing that's making me laugh the most. Like imagining like some of the people that consider themselves intelligent activists and stuff that really are just celebrities that think they know better than people.
I think we're all at
Uh,
this point with the cancel culture shit that everyone's kind of up for target now. Everyone's kind of got a little bullseye in their back.
a little bit.
And in a weird kind of way, Ricky Gervais went, wait a second, this cancel culture shit's nonsense. Well, why don't I get the best of both worlds by overcoming cancel culture and then simultaneously just fucking pegging you fuckers down a little bit?
Oh man, I like that. Somebody I saw earlier was complaining about Oh, I remember. It was they. I shouldn't say complaining. They kind of said it was kind of nonsense how like people like James Charles and stuff are they're just RT what's it called, RT activism, art retweeting
Oh,
activism
yeah,
type
yeah,
thing. But the thing is, he was talking about that specifically with um the like the Australian fire stuff. Um, but it's like okay, his argument was like, why are you just art retweeting about it? Why don't you go out and do something? In this situation in particular, what is anyone supposed to do? You need training to fight a wildfire like this one. The people that are trained to fight this wildfire are struggling to even run away from it because it's moving so fast in many cases.
So I had this interesting situation occur with the Team Trees thing. There's this
Mm.
guy I watch on YouTube. Everyone probably has heard of him at one point. It's Thunderfoot, and he started ripping into Mr. Beast's Team Trees thing, and he goes, in so many words, you would need to plant 20 million trees a day to combat not even just like regress on the damage done by global warming, but to prevent the current daily amounts. And it's just like my response
Okay,
to
so
that
let's just not do anything if we have to do that much work.
exactly my response is that spreading awareness is the best thing you can at least do if you don't have the means to do otherwise.
Yeah,
However,
spreading awareness and fundraising.
for something like Team Trees, though, I'm like, oh, I could go plant a fucking tree. I can
Yeah.
go to Home Depot, get a fucking tree and plant it. Like, there's nothing stopping me, except for, Fish and Wildlife and Forest Services, stopping me from planting a tree.
Well,
However,
on top of that, you have to know how to plant one so it won't die. Like you have to know where to plant it. Otherwise, you'll just end up wasting it.
right. So there's a little bit of energy and effort behind it, but I'm not fucking flying down to Australia to fucking die. I'm like, I'm gonna die. No, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Well, see, and the thing is, a lot of the people that are retweeting, they're retweeting like donations or places where donations are listed and things like that. So it's not even like I don't know. There's people that are like, why are you even bothering? And it's like, there's a good reason to bother. There's a very good reason to bother. Shut the fuck up and just either ignore it or be a part of it. I mean, if you don't have the money, or if you do have the money, one of the best things you can do is just spread that awareness. That the links are there in case they want to help.
I don't know, man.
But
I think nobody's happy, and we all need a fucking gun to our heads at some point, just to scare you a little bit, just a little bit.
mm, yeah, no, I mean, there's definitely always people that are hesitant to do anything. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm hesitant to donate to causes and stuff just because I
Oh yeah,
don't really have that much money to donate to them. Normally, when I see them pop up, like I'll donate to a streamer and then something will happen. There, that was my last $5 I had.
I think charity wise, the only two I donate to is St. Jude's, and even then depends on the St. Jude's division,
Yeah.
and Planned Parenthood. Those are like the only two that yes, their like money might not be exactly funneled, as much as you'd want it to, but I'm like, you can at least know the fucking donations are going to a person at the end of the fucking day.
Oh yeah. By comparison to like donating to like PETA and stuff. Yeah. My mom
Fuck
actually,
yeah.
my mom had cancer. Well, she still has cancer technically. She can never be cured because she has lymphoma. Um, but she was like trying to raise money a couple times for things, and she started finding out that every time she was raising money for an organization, she found out that it was one of the ones where like only an eighth of the money actually goes to the cause itself, and the rest of it goes to the CEO and to the operational costs and all that stuff, rather than the majority of it going to the actual cause itself.
Right.
So she started, and then there was a couple of them she was raising money for where they ended up turning out to be like entirely scams because they were. I mean, granted, this was like a decade ago almost at this point, so it was a little easier to kind of pull the wool over people's eyes back then because the ability to research and all that was there, but not as well advanced as it is now.
Yeah, that's why like I think in this day and age, it's gonna sound so nihilistic. You kind of just want to you ought to give to people who you're just like, oh, I've had interactions with that organization. Like I know somebody who had kids, and the kids went through the I'm getting pink for some reason. Uh, I like who went through the Ronald McDonald organization, and it's like, okay, that's like a thing. They're trying to like take care of some kids, but Lord knows at the end of the day, whoever runs the organization, how much are they skimming off the top? Where's that money really going? But I'm like, I know
Yeah,
somebody who was helped, and I can just donate something. So
yeah,
that's my take. That's my hot take. Take the
yeah,
nihilistic approach. Oh man. So I'm intrigued to see where this Golden Globes thing happens, but I'm not
yeah.
gonna lie.
I'm probably gonna watch this clip over and over again before I go to bed. I'll be honest.
I think we're at a point where all these award shows are gonna go away soon, except for the
I
Game
think
Awards.
I kind of think we're getting there, except for the fact that they're starting to feel like they need to bring in things like Netflix and stuff now. Um, so I think that now that they're involving things like Netflix and stuff like that, I think it's going to I think it might persist a little bit. There's some things they can do for sure that will push their popularity. I mean, let's be honest. Even if they were to just focus on being like specifically an event for certain demographics, whether it be specific communities of people, whether they be um, sexual orientations or minorities or something, there's always going to be some kind of way that they could, for lack of a better term, exploit a community for their attention.
What, Hollywood exploiting communities?
Yeah,
Don't
what?
tell
Oh,
us
dude, what?
again.
No, no way. We would never do that, bro.
On the topic of exploitation, have you watched The Witcher yet?
I am like I have no investment in that universe or anything, so I'm only like an episode and a half. No, probably like halfway through episode three.
Okay.
Because it's not really grabbing me yet.
It it
Because
took a while
I
as
feel like
well.
yeah, I feel like I'm not getting enough of the lore. I mean, because like especially because like the episode was episode two. I feel like was mostly not even about him. It felt like so.
You haven't played the games, have you?
No,
Okay.
that's what I'm saying. I have no investment in the books or the games. I've never dabbled in any of them.
If you get time, you should play the third one. It's very phenomenal, in my opinion.
I've
But
heard it was great. A lot of the problem is just like I just
it's a lot of
I
time.
feel like I need to play the first two first.
No,
Um,
no, don't play the first one.
no,
Oh my god. So literally, what I did. Okay, let me explain it like this. The Witcher One video game is like they tried to make an RTS work as a third-person sword fighting game. It does not work. It's awful in my opinion. Witcher 2,
I might have to
thankfully,
look into that just out of morbid curiosity. Not get the game probably, but actually just watch some videos about it or something because that sounds bizarre.
it's
Like I
so
mean, I've played. I mean,
bad.
like I know Command and Conquer did something like that where but it didn't function like an RTS. It actually functioned like a shooter.
I
So
think maybe
that's
like a kind of interesting way to say it is like imagine playing Call of Duty your entire life and then they're like, "Oh, we came up with a new Call of Duty and then we decided to make it more like Star Wars The Old Republic." Where it's kind of like a weird Mass Effect kind of RTS-y, but also a little actiony type.
hmm,
It just it it just never feels like you're playing something. It just it's just watch a video. You'll
yeah,
figure it out. It's bad.
yeah. I'm gonna watch a video about it. Um,
But like
but yeah, there's so many games to play. I just
if you got a chance, there's like watch a million of let's plays. I watched this video. It was a 20-minute video of a person just doing a recap of the entire story, and I was like, "Thank you. I couldn't play this game." But thankfully, Witcher 2 is actually pretty good. I like Witcher 2. I'm actually only like a couple, like 3, 4 hours into it,
yeah.
but 3 is phenomenal. That's the big one.
I get so little time to play games that I pretty much stream every time I get to play a game. So it's like once a week, twice a week, maybe. Like right now, I'm just playing Jack and Daxter.
But back to my original point. I I'm gonna ask you this so that when you're watching, you can tell me if I'm crazy or not. So the girlfriend and I got into an argument about Witcher, which is I have a preconceived bias to the show. I remember when they were casting for the show, they put out a casting call being like, We are interested in getting a person of color to play Siri. Now, Siri's white. This whole
Mm-hmm.
story and the books and the games is about Norwegian, I believe Scandinavian type, and or like maybe Norse is the word I'm looking for. I don't know exactly like off the top of my
Probably
head,
Norse.
but like it's kind of revolving around that culture and that mythology, and the writer is born there, so obviously you're kind of like drawing from your own inspirations, your own sources.
Right.
So I go into that saying, okay, they casted a white person. Okay, they wanted to stay somewhat within the realm of like the main characters are portrayed somewhat how they're portrayed in the books and the games.
Mm-hmm.
Most likely the books because the writer is the main person for the show. I don't know how much they're going
Right.
to take from the games.
Yeah.
Now, I felt there was this trope they kept not necessarily trying to shove down my face, but the idea that it's like, oh, the person of color is the person in charge, and it's their turn to tell the white person to shut the fuck up because it's my turn. I'm in charge. I'm the powerful one. I'm the king. I'm the blah 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 blah. And I I normally don't mind that because it's like one or two times. It's like, yeah, okay, sometimes you gotta tell somebody shut the fuck up, I'm the leader on this mission.
Mm-hmm.
It just felt like every episode, predominantly in the first like four episodes, that just felt too much like a trope to me. There were just it. And I could be wrong here. That's why I'm asking you, like when you're watching, to keep an eye out for this. But I'm like, I can't stand because I feel like it's detrimental behavior usually when you're sitting there saying we're trying to prop people up by showing, or I'm sorry, by telling you how amazing these people are. But the better way you show people is by showing them. Like for example, if you take a fucking samurai warrior and you pin them up against an Amazonian warrior and the Amazonian wins, you're like, oh fuck, I didn't know an Amazonian an Amazon was better than a samurai in those days. Like that's showing me as a viewer that this person is objectively more skilled in combat than like a feudal samurai, for example. Instead of being like, well, we put the two of them there, and doing a talking analysis, we told you that the Amazon is taller, she has a longer weapon span, and therefore she's automatically at an advantage compared to the Japanese person. So Japanese person loses. Like, I can't stand that. Like those people
Mm-hmm.
who sit there and say like, oh, there's never been strong female leads or strong person of color leads. People who have like never clearly seen like the movie Alien, people who
Star Wars.
Star Wars, like they exist. But the reason
Yeah.
those are so predominant is because they show you how amazing these people are.
Well, not only that, it's they don't force it. Um, like I'm not. I'll be honest. I'm not quite sure. I gotta because I don't have any current. I don't have any like pre-existing knowledge, so I'm not quite clear on which characters are which. I know Geralt. Um, that's about it. Um,
Like even the Queen in
but
the
when I'm
first
watching it,
episode.
I'll when I'm watching it, I'll try and get a better grasp. But like when you're talking about when you're talking about positions, characters in a position of power, the problem is whether would the character be that way, whether or not they were of a minority or a sexuality or whatever. That you know, what I mean, to would they have already been that way,
Right.
regardless? If it doesn't feel natural to the story that they would be that way, then I have a problem with it. Most of the time, I don't notice when they're doing that kind of thing, and then you find out later when the director says, "Oh, I wanted to give them a voice. I wanted to so that's put them in this position." I was like, "Oh, okay, now you've kind of ruined that for me because now you've in the moment it doesn't feel so bad watching it, but then when you start making it blatant, like, oh, so this was a message and not actually having anything to do with the story itself, you've done a disservice to the story.
And that
But
was
when it's
kind of the
done
argument we got.
naturally in the story, it's great, and I could care less.
That was the argument that me and the girlfriend got into about The Witcher was like I felt like I noticed that because that was already like they already told the whole like leak about the Siri trying to cast a person of color thing for that. Like I
Mm-hmm.
kind of went into that being like, okay, They already have intentions, but I'm not looking for them because I like The Witcher. I want to watch The Witcher. But
I don't know if just putting the person in that position is a sign that that's the reason for it. I mean, I don't know.
and
Because there's a lot of if there seems like there's been quite a few people of power in the show, right? So I mean, it would make sense that maybe they'd want to put one person in there that doesn't fit a certain dynamic or whatever.
and a big thing I
But
can give like
I
to
could see why I
scripts
would.
would be like Finn from Star Wars. It's like does it really matter or have any effect if what the character's race is? Like it really doesn't, and
No,
that's fine in all cases because it doesn't matter. But like I don't know.
I will say an exception to when you have an existing character that you're modifying to fit a dynamic. When you're talking about a primary character,
Right.
supporting characters where it doesn't matter, like Finn. Finn, even if he wasn't an existing character, which I know at some point he was in the books and stuff, I don't think he was described. I have no idea. Um,
I mean, they
I really doubt they
said in the
described his
canon.
skin tone, knowing Star Wars. Um, but
Well,
I'm
like
trying to think of a
here's a
really good
gaming
example.
example. Like here's a good like anti-example. Battlefield 5. Oh, you got knocked
Um,
down by the German soldier, and then the big badass crippled lieutenant or whatever shoots him in the head and picks you up with her non-severed hand. It's like
I wouldn't call them crippled. She's clearly very handy capable because those
literally.
robotic appendages definitely seem like they're more of an advantage than a disadvantage, my man.
I just I can't. First off, it wasn't robot appendage. It was a couple pieces of wire. Get your facts
I don't
straight.
know. The trailers I never played it. The trailers I saw it was like it looked like a fully robotic arm.
No, it was like I think a couple pieces of iron that meant to look kind of like a hand, but it literally I think it was like a rake on her hand
Uh,
basically. But
gotcha.
besides the point, I just I only bring it up because I am genuinely curious, but it's because I felt like I wasn't looking for it and it happened too many times for me to not say something. And that could
Yeah.
just be my bias, of course, but I don't know, man. It felt really excessive.
Yeah, I'll keep looking at it when I get back into it and see if I feel any differently.
Oh, and I stand highly corrected. Uh, I don't think I've ever, not at our conversations. I thought Henry Cavill was going to be terrible as Geralt. I think he does a very fantastic job.
The
I
funny thing is, I actually heard the on the official podcast they were like laughing about like who cares if he's a gamer. Well, for one, um, he means he might have a connection. He might actually play the games and have an investment in the games. For one, um,
oh, Henry Cavill's like a super gamer.
yeah, I'll be honest. That's the thing is I like listening to the official podcast. But it's funny given that Critical is known as being like a great commentator. Um, it's hilarious how ridiculous some of their takes on that show are.
Yeah,
I love the comedy aspect of the show, but man, some of the stuff like it actually irks me when I hear them talking about it.
that's why I love Kaya so much because I'm like, I just
He really doesn't care about any of it.
I love hearing that from somebody. I love hearing somebody just be like, I don't give a fuck. Don't
Mm-hmm.
as long as you don't infect my life, I don't give a fuck. Why does it
Yeah,
matter? I don't give a fuck.
I think if I didn't care about credibility, my humor would be better. But because I like to talk about things and roast people when they screw up, I feel like I need to maintain my credibility. So I can't just make a video making a bunch of jokes like I did with my video about Arnold Schwarzenegger. I can't make videos where I'm like just saying ridiculous stuff to be ridiculous. Not random equals funny, more like absurdist humor. Um, because I feel like it undermines any credibility I have. And I'm like, it makes it so much harder to write these scripts and have them actually have value to me.
So my question to that is that at what point does it not become your job? And I'm gonna word. I'll explain in a second. When does it not become your job to explain your intentions to somebody? Like, if I make the joke
Mm,
like oh Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself, "Oh, stop complaining. I know you were his friend." Like, at the end of that joke, when do I have the responsibility to explain to you, I don't really care. This is just something I'm saying that's funny. Like, maybe Ricky Gervais does have a friend who knew him, or he does have a pony in that race, or maybe he did know Jeffrey Epstein. But, like, at the end of the day, at what point is it not your responsibility to just be like, I just said something because it's funny? So your credibility kind of becomes like, yeah, you kind of need to have that caliber of like, I am a sane, rational human being, but can't you just say stuff and just hope that the audience will read that as just some shit being said?
It would be nice if that was the way it worked. But think about it. Context doesn't matter anymore. So no, you can't get away with it. I
Interesting.
mean, if cancel culture was to start backing down, right? If that was to start stepping down a little bit, maybe you'd be able to get away with it. But we're in this period of time where everybody is like constantly, I shouldn't say everybody, a lot of people are out there constantly looking for their next fix um of rage bait, right? So if I made a video about Susie Liu, right? And I mean I already did make a video about Susie Liu, but people have liked to ignore all of the facts I said in the video and say that I made them up, even though there's proof in the video of them. um, and it's happening to a lot of people, specifically regarding this situation, especially this situation. People are constantly being told, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You're making this stuff up. You're a liar." Blah 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 blah. So being able to back up what you say is very important in those situations. Um,
I mean,
if you're just being a comedian, you get some leeway, but at the same time, in a lot of cases, then you have no credibility because it's okay. Well, you can't take everything I say seriously. Okay, so when can we trust you?
so
Comes into question, and then
you're of the internet
people like to
age.
pick that stuff apart.
You're of the internet age that like you know AOL IM groups and chat logs and forums. Like you know this
I
stuff.
was not involved with those, but I was familiar with them because my mom used them.
There I kind of skirted at that very edge point where I was involved in that technological period, like the LimeWires and shit, but I wasn't so
Mm-hmm.
far back that I had to use like IRCs, for example. Like I'm not very familiar with IRCs for just, and even forums like limited amounts. But my question comes into play is that, well, not my inquiry towards that is that we're on this thing called the internet, and we don't know one another. People don't know you, they don't know your intentions. And I
Right?
even had this conversation with a physical friend of mine. This person said to me, and I quote, "Oh man, you're really open and honest, and you share your thoughts and opinions a lot." And I'm like, you don't know what those are. Like, you don't know what I'm truly thinking, what I'm really planning, what I really know, how much I know. You just know what I give you.
Yeah, it's all kind of assumption beyond that point. Yeah, they have no idea what the reality situation is.
So, and that's a good point because that makes me say to specifically people on the internet is to go, I'm presupposing stuff. Like this is me basically assuming you know that we're all people on the internet just fucking about. This isn't real. This isn't real life. So why is it my expectation to deliver something unless the intention is to be like, for example, let me be very specific here. I want Susie Liu to lose her channel. Well, why? Because she breaks the fucking copyright law and is skirting around abusing it as well. So, in fact, she is committing actual, legal, tangible crimes. Now,
Yeah.
what is my real intention behind her? Fucking let her do her reaction channels. I don't give a shit. Let her fucking react. Fucking, she's a piece of shit. She's not fucking unique. She's an uncreative hack. She has no purpose. Let the fucking videos get taken down. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but the second that I'm sitting there and saying, "Oh, her eye doesn't really seem to move properly. It has a little twitch to it, but it doesn't ever seem to fully or it stays partially closed the whole time." That's not me like delivering an intention, a design, or like it could be a joke, it could be an insult, it could be a bully, it could be anything.
Hmm.
And I'm finding it weird that people take this internet shit now and say, "Oh no, that's what you really mean. You really mean that she's a decrepit beast and needs to be taken from a platform because she has a deformity, for example." Like, and that's what I'm trying to like explain to people is I'm like, this isn't that. That's not what the internet is. And the second we treat it that way, we've we we're treating this as real life, and that's
Yeah.
bad for everyone. So
Let's see. The part of the problem is the fact that what we're talking about with Susie, it does cross over into real life because there's like legal stuff involved and things like that that cross over from just being stupid internet drama to being actually potentially affecting people. Like between her strike, her false strike against Mark After Dark, and all this other stuff. Like there's a bunch of things where she's done that crosses over into real life.
right, and that
Um,
actually is exactly what I guess you could say I mean to say is that when somebody crosses that threshold, I would personally go after them.
mhm.
Like,
Yeah. See, and that's the thing is a lot of people don't. That's the thing is my point is I like to have the credibility still there. The problem is if I start like I wish I could just make a bunch of jokes and not have to worry about the consequences. But if I make those jokes, I lose the credibility. That's the consequence for making those jokes. You know what I mean?
well, what is credibility in this sense then? Because
Well, credibility is people being able to trust what you're actually saying are facts. Like if I'm just making jokes, right? If I was just to make a regular commentary video joking about somebody, um, I'm trying to think of the right way to phrase it. If I was to make a bunch of jokes about somebody in a video, whether they're just about their physical appearance or whatever, it's gonna hit a different person a different way, right? If I don't maintain a standard with what I do in terms of how far I'm willing to go with taking things outside reality to make those jokes. If I don't stay within a certain bound with the absurdist humor, people are going to think that's actually how I feel about something, right?
hmm,
For example, like Bill Burr, right? Bill Burr. I mean, I know not comparing myself to Bill Burr in any way. Um, Bill Burr makes some very outlandish comments in his stand-up. He very clearly doesn't actually feel the way he says he feels about women in some cases.
right.
They are jokes, and he's been very clear about that. But that's not outside the realm of what he does. That's common for his style and his delivery. That's not like unexpected of him. If if he was, if now on the other hand, if you had like Patton Oswalt, right, uh, fairly, I mean, he makes a lot of crazy jokes, but not usually stuff that people would mislabel him as uh, misogynistic for, right? If
Okay,
Patton Oswalt
give it about 2 years, so we'll see that.
all of a sudden Patton Oswalt makes a Bill Burr style joke that comes off misogynistic, it doesn't read as a joke as much. It reads as, oh, he's been harboring all these feelings all this time because people don't expect that of him. And there's no build up to it, right?
So
So like if you're just doing absurdist humor like I would be doing, and then you try and do like a more serious piece like I did with the Markiplier video a while back, um, then I don't have credit. I don't have much of a leg to stand on unless I go full serious, and then I can't make any jokes in the video at all.
I mean that's interesting. I can kind of see that. So, but here's my only like breakdown breakdown argument complaint against that is that so you're kind of in a weird way saying I have to build a box so everyone knows I am in this box because that's the box I set up. Now, if you don't want to be in my box, that's fine, but this is where I'd like to be. And I'm okay with that. I like I get that. Like
Mm,
I don't
kind
mean
of.
like I don't mean
Yeah.
like boxes like restrained, more so just like you carved out a little
Staying in your lane
piece.
is kind of like what I'm talking about, essentially.
Not
Because
even
like if I start swerving out of my lane into absurdist comedy, people aren't going to know where to read that. At least
uh
that's how I think.
I can give you that because I have had my mind changed on that a lot lately. Like I can't remember who it was. Somebody was talking about like iDubbbz content cops, and they're being like, yeah, iDubbbz had to literally come out and say, "Is like, yeah, I don't have some fucking grandiose scheme plan to like end the YouTubers that I bitch about in these series. Sometimes I'm just trying to make a fucking joke here." And the fact that
Yeah.
you read it that way shows that you're incompetent. And it's in a weird way kind of where I see it as both your argument and against your argument. Where it's like you can see clearly he was trying to deliver that intent, but so
Mm-hmm.
many people misconstrued it that he had to come out and just say it. And in my perspective, that's kind of why I say this is a bias here. This is the internet, and in so many words, we're all actors here. We're all
Mm-hmm.
pretending in some way. Some of us pretend very well, some of us can't pretend at all, and we end up being a real reflection of ourselves. So,
Mm-hmm.
why should I constrict my play in some specific way that conforms to other people's desires when the agreement should be, and this is where I'm like totally just writing my own narrative. The agreement should be that we're all fucking fake up here. Like, and not everybody sees it that way. I'm totally not being like, oh, we all agree that we go on the internet being like we're all assholes. Like, no, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
But
I don't know. It could also be the difference of where we come from in terms of our mentality about it. Because I try to be very real about my opinions on things. Um, Aside from like I said that Arnold Schwarzenegger video, I felt weird doing that video because a lot of the jokes I made were so outlandish and so obviously ridiculously stupid, but they were jokes being ageist. I made a whole bunch of jokes about being ageist and pretending I like insulting old people, but for like ridiculous over the top stereotypes. That's like that was how I was supposed to. I was trying to make it clear that was the joke, but I felt weird doing it. Um, Most of the content I make is because I'm genuinely interested in making that video. So first of all, the videos I make are actually my interests. Whether it be not necessarily that I'm interested in Susie Lou's content, right? But I'm interested in that story. That's what I'm. That's why.
that's kind of inherent though, byproduct of making said
Um,
video.
but well, not necessarily because a lot of people make videos just for views. I made that video not because I didn't think it was going to get views because I already knew it was going to take me longer than the story's relevancy was going to be around. So that video actually did better than I thought it was going to do. Um, but then on top of that, like I said, I try and be very genuine about how I actually feel about it. And I'm actually putting most of myself in there. I play a little bit of a character in the sense that I'm more put on than I really am. You know, I play up a little bit, but it's mostly just confidence level. It's not actually like, you know, I'm trying to think of the right way to phrase it. I'm not really doing much other than being myself in those videos. Really not. Um,
And I guess because I kind of want to end it here. I can't surrender that mindset. I can't surrender to being like, oh, this is me, just to a slight different degree. I'm like, I'm either all bullshit or no bullshit, and
mm-hmm,
you're not supposed to be able to, and in a weird way, you're not allowed to with me, in a weird way. And I think that that leads a better disassociation with the internet because at the end of the day, like real life is kind of becoming disconnected. The same thing everyone says all the time is that when you conflate internet personalities, internet people as your real friends, you tend to forget what your real friends and the people around you and your community and your family are.
mm-hmm,
So I just I can't surrender that type of opinion because it's not my obligation in real life, it's not my obligation online. That's me,
mm-hmm,
and I'll leave it at that because I feel like I agree with you. Like I can't
mm-hmm.
disagree with you because
Right.
It's
Well, like I said,
it's
it's different viewpoints. That's all.
it's yeah, it's the internet.
Just different
Fucking, it's an
perspective.
opinion. It's a perspective. It's a different constraints. It's
Yeah.
all different. But my only thing here that I say that I necessarily don't put in like a difference of perspective. I just simply say is that the internet's not real, and when people treat it that way and bring
Well,
it to reality, that leads to the problems.
well, here's something that maybe something I should have mentioned, specified earlier. Credibility is important when doing commentary because they have to trust your opinion and all that, right? You have to know what you're talking about. People that don't know what they're talking about, it becomes very clear to anyone who does know what they're talking about, and it makes them look like an idiot. In addition to that, hypocrisy. If you're a hypocrite in commentary, you got a problem. You got a serious problem. So, if you get on somebody for making a bunch of, insults towards somebody, just flat out insults, right? So like for example, I can't make a video complaining about people making fun of fat people, right? Um and then go and make the Susie Lou video I did and include those three jokes about her forehead because it's still just, I mean, depending on scale, there's a little bit of context that could be involved there, some nuance, but at a general base level, I can't make those jokes and then criticize somebody for making physical appearance jokes.
So I'm gonna have to shut your whole argument down right here and just say one name and end it here. I'm Alex, bitch.
Right, and he's disliked by quite a few people because of it.
Still popular, still doing well, and still well
Right, but here's the
respected
other
and
thing.
treated as
Here's the other
such.
thing. I'm also not a scumbag, so I also would hate myself um if I knew I was doing that. And I know myself very well, and I would know if I was doing it.
Are you having fucking morals right now and want to have respect? Get the fuck out of here. We're about money in this bitch.
I know how dare I live off of my morals.
Fuck off with your fucking I don't have sex with
That's the funny
animals.
thing.
Ugh,
That's
I
the
have
funny thing.
morals.
Honestly, that's one of the things that slows me down in terms of making content and stuff is probably the fact that I have too strong a moral system and I'm too aware of how easy it is to just make a mistake and say the wrong thing.
So I'll give you something here. I'll take that Mark Twain quote and fucking twist its nipple a little bit here, which is a man who tells the truth never has to remember what he said. At the end of the day, if you're just presenting yourself as being chaotic, but you're telling the truth, like, you don't ever have to sit there and really think to yourself, oh, I wonder what the repercussion is. Sometimes just saying it leads to the best outcome or the most interesting
Yeah,
one. And
I don't know.
I'll tell you why, because this thing happened to me at work. I'll keep it very very brief because I do have to go. But
Yeah,
basically, I asked somebody to do a part of their job that was like, oh hey, I just need you to build something for me real quick. And they, because it's the new person, I asked them to build it, and they go, I don't think I can do that. Let me talk to somebody else. They were a new hire for this position,
right.
and they asked this other person, hey, can I do this? And then they go, I don't know if you can do this or not. So then they go, well, let me ask my manager if you can do this or not. And then they go to their manager and they say, I don't know if you can do this either. So I go to the person, the second person, the supervisor, and I say, hey, why can't we do this? I'm trying to be very vague here because of job and stuff. I can't, divulge information about it. But like,
Right.
why can't you build this thing? Where's the document? Where's the piece of paper that says you can't do it? In this case, where's the law that says you can't do this? Where's the real like tangible evidence that this could hurt somebody that says you can't just say that? And at the end of the day, it's not my problem. I don't.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I mean like I said, a lot of it's perspective. Just where we're coming from, what we're focused on, what we're thinking about. Um personally for me, it's a lot of it's more long term stuff. Like, what am I concerned about? Like, if things were to go well, I mean, part of it is for lack of a better term, viewer expectation as well. In terms of myself,
Oh
um,
yeah.
because there's
Don't
a lot of times where I
fucking
get comments
listen
from
to me
people
here.
specific. Hmm?
Don't fucking listen to me. You're doing YouTube and doing it well enough that you're driving an audience that seems to actually interact with you. Do not fucking listen to my suggestion. I'm just saying. I am the
I know.
chaotic
Yeah,
neutral of the internet, where I'm just like,
yeah.
the internet is this to me. Why don't
Hmm.
I fuck with you all to make you think this way? So
Oh,
don't listen to me.
like that's the thing is that like I've considered many like if I was to actually be able to go like more full time, if I was gonna have a little bit more time and stuff, or if I was to have enough money, I would very much be opening a channel where I just kind of like more like roasted things, do a little bit easier commentary where I'm just kind of having fun goofing on things, and in that I wouldn't hold myself to as high a standard, and it seems to be that way. Like if you have something else you do like a side thing, you can do that and it's not people aren't going to hold you to the same standard. But like if I was to put something on my main channel, it has to hit a certain standard in my opinion for it to be, for lack of a better term, safe. um
Safe
like
as
I
in
have to
safe as in
I have
privacy.
too many people that on this channel specifically um have complimented me repeatedly for uh the way I structure everything, the fact that I have the facts in there, I'm not twisting it, I'm telling it the way it is. um I'm still entertaining about it, and I'm also not like dissolving into just insulting type stuff. Like the combination of the three, because those are like things that are very common in commentary, just blatant stupid insults, right?
I was gonna say,
Um,
I'm like, in all honesty, it's really easy to not lead into blatant insulting. It's when
well,
you see the
it's
valid way to
hard to
do it.
do that for a lot of people and still make it entertaining and comedic. Like finding the humor there. I tend to just make jokes about other trending stuff in there because like I'm think about how many times I've insulted Rewired Soul or somebody.
Yeah.
Um, I the video I made about him, I insulted him in his intelligence a couple times. I called myself the recut foreskin, making fun of him. Um, I don't even know what the joke was supposed to be. It was just like, what can I say that kind of sounds like his name? Recut foreskin. Oh, okay, that works. Um,
But here's the
if
thing,
he
like,
was if he was Jewish or something, I probably would have stepped in a hole there because people could have probably made a joke that was like anti-Semitic or something like that, or insulted me for that, which would obviously not have been the intent. Because I have no idea what his back.
I
My point is like that's something that goes through my mind. The fact that that's a concern in my mind, that I could make that simple little joke, and someone's going to insult, call me anti-Semitic for that or something like that. That's where my mind is at right now. Any little kind of little small thing can be extrapolated now.
oh Lord,
It happens all the time, and I think
I
that's one of the issues I have.
so I because I can't.
But you see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying, but I'm gonna be honest. That's bad. It,
It's bad that I feel like I have to coddle myself to it. Yeah, that's true.
well, not even that. Can nobody say sorry? I'm gonna keep it simple. Can nobody say sorry?
Oh, I could.
If somebody
Oh, I
goes,
could. The
"Oh,
problem
hey,
is I want
you're
to. The
being,"
problem is I try and avoid it. Realistically, if I didn't avoid all these things and I just said sorry every time I screwed up, I might actually be more successful.
I'm no, it's
Couple
not. No,
little
no.
controversies in there.
Let me just keep it simple because I do gotta wrap up because I gotta go. Uh,
Yeah,
just simply, I don't know what the word guinea is, for example, just metaphorically speaking here. I'm Italian, so it's okay. Or Polish, I don't even know.
I thought it was Irish.
I don't fucking know, and that's the point. So if I'm just like, oh hey, this word sounds funny and I heard it once, be like, rewired sword looks like a fucking guinea. Does
Well, I mean
did I
that.
really do anything bad there? Did I do anything bad?
Well, I mean you used whatever you thought a funny word. You have no idea what it is, and then you used it as an insult. So I would say that you definitely open yourself up there. Like
But
if you
that's
don't
what I'm
know
saying.
what the word is, why are you using it?
Like saying rewired soul and then the uncut uncut foreskin, like something like that. It,
Well, yeah, but like if I like with that, it doesn't have a meaning I don't know. You know what I mean?
I mean,
Like
yeah,
I know exactly what I'm saying if I'm saying that. It doesn't actually have any other alternate tones to it that I think of in the moment. But when you say that, when you say what you just said, you know that there is a meaning that you don't know to the word. Like what I did in that video, recut foreskin. You have to add context to that to make it bad. But people can do that there.
well that
When you just use a word as an insult to somebody,
well that little bit of
the
context
context of
though
using it as
is
an insult is there.
well no because that context thing is what I'm trying to say is I'm saying is like should I or you be expected, and this is like the inhibitor I see personally, should you be expected to have done every ounce of research to know that, oh, and this metaphorically, that Rewired Soul is Jewish when he makes a video saying, oh, he's being anti Semitic to me? Should I have put that expectation that you've done every ounce of research and look up and know everything about me to not make an insult towards my Jewish heritage?
Well, no, I'm not saying that you should have to. I'm saying that I'm hyper aware of how easy it is for these stupid things to happen.
Right.
And so I just take the extra steps because I'm paranoid about it. I shouldn't say I'm paranoid about it because I'm not really paranoid about it because I know I can defend myself in one of these situations. But I prefer to just avoid the thing entirely if it's possible. Especially if I think that something is going to be read as a direct like a petty insult rather than like wordplay of some kind. Like that's what I thought of when I made the recut foreskin joke. It didn't occur to me until just when we were talking a minute ago that that could have been read as anti-Semitic if he was Jewish. As far as I know, he's not, and there's no way to make that more than just a joke. But it didn't occur to me until just now that But usually I am very aware of those kind of things, and while I can defend myself from those because I can give context to exactly what the joke was. Um,
Yeah.
I feel like it's not necessary for me to put myself through that especially if it's a cheap insult type joke
Oh no,
like
no.
that joke was.
Like that's kind of the thing I like about your comedy when you do it is that you take a silly concept of the inherent thing and you break it down. But
Yeah.
I'm trying to like say is just simply is if you've already done your due diligence in the first place, which is, hey, I looked into this person, I found that they're a Hasidic black Jew. Maybe I won't make any insults about that. And then you say something like, oh, she looks like she eats pork all the time, because you meant, oh, she looks like she's eating her dogs or something. Like the video, literally you're critiquing the fact that her video is she abuses and eats animals or some nonsense or bullshit in this example.
I think I gotcha.
Like, I think you would just stand to say that I did my part. I did what I could. I researched the videos. I know the character that I'm going to be commentating on.
Mm-hmm.
Let it fly. Don't like just let everything that comes to your mind fly, but like
Yeah.
that's all. That's it. It's like you've done your due diligence. Just let the jokes fly. If you haven't done your due diligence, you sound like I'm Alex. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, like real quick, I'll explain. Like the context for that is like last night I had when I was streaming, um, somebody popped in the chat. Somebody I know popped in the chat. It was their birthday, so they wanted me to react to something. So what I was reacting to it, and it was something about it was a premix video about the Slayton sisters. You
I don't
familiar with
know who
that?
they are.
Well, they're getting a show on TLC. And I made a bunch of jokes about them being fat. Um, I shouldn't say a bunch. I made a couple jokes about them being fat. One of them, I felt like, yeah, that was probably further than I should have taken that joke. I take that back. I shouldn't have said that. Um, but it wasn't like anything super like, they're a whale, and it wasn't nothing like that as far as I can remember. Um, but then I repeatedly made the joke that I'm fat. I'm allowed to make that joke. That was the real joke. But if I made a video like that, people would easily make a video, make the claim that I was just fat shaming them, even though the joke was supposed to be, ha, fat, lol, I'm fat, so I'm allowed to make the joke, ha ha ha. That was supposed to be the real joke.
Oh man,
Um, but that could easily be taken as fat shaming, legitimately,
this is
and then
why
making fun of fat shaming culture
this is
or whatever.
why I love Colossal is crazy. I don't have
Non
any
apologetic.
qualms that he hates fat people,
Yeah.
and I'm fat, and I
I
know
don't
this,
I don't either. I
and
don't either. I wish honestly that I could feel comfortable making jokes. Um but I don't know.
but what I'm saying is like, I can't do that. I can't sit there and listen to somebody trying to explain. No, no, no. My joke was that I am fat, therefore I can make the fat. Like I can't do it.
That's why I was just like I'm allowed to make the joke. Shut up. That's why I was basically what I was saying.
All right, I will end the stream here. I'm gonna talk your off for a moment after this one,
All right.
but yeah.